Beard Room. I am your host this week, TF Banana. Joining us, as always, we've got the founder, the man with the plan, the Flamey.
Hello.
We've got the East that does rise in the East. We've got the Bread Roll.
Guten Tag.
And of course, you can find him on your high scoreboard everywhere. We've got Lord Shmup.
What's going on?
And of course, back from his recent canceled tour, Jack Black, Steph.
Hey everyone.
So coming back in, we got some new surprises this week. You know, nothing quite as big as last week's big PS5 reveal, but you know, we've definitely got some things to talk about, and I definitely want to jump in and kind of talk about the one that I've been hinting around a little bit. The game itself, I still can't say much. I can't reveal what it is yet, but what I can say is all the glorious things I did say about this RPG still stand. However, I'm getting tired. And it's not the fault of the game, it's the fault of the gamer, okay? While I have a fondness for these deep, dragging JRPGs, this one's starting to suck the soul out of me. You know,
You're
I've
saying
got
the low
these
score's going
segments
to be
where
on you, not the game.
Yeah. There's some segments now where, you know, I've got 5 good minutes of gameplay, but then it's running around and doing day-to-day activities and just talking to characters just to move the story along. And that's fine and dandy, but when you're starting to start grinding these hours at night, it starts putting you to sleep. And I'm finding these spots where it's kind of lulling me. So I cheated in a spot and kind of read ahead with what's going on in the story. And I am using this really sweet feature that the game does have, which I will advocate for all JRPGs moving forward, where if you click in the left thumbstick, you go into a high speed mode. So all your movements, all the dialogue, everything is just turbocharged, and you can just zip through conversations and just kind of whiz bang through the whole game. And it is fantastic. The combat, it still stops for the combat, but you can just kind of fly through it if you've done some reading, or if you're revisiting this game, as like I said, this is a remaster or re-release of an older title. So look forward to getting some stuff out there that I'm going to write up on that one. But secondly, I've been given the opportunity, gotten a code for the re-release remaster of Panzer Dragoon for Google Stadia. And if you've followed our website, you know, twobeardgaming.com, quick little shill right there, right? You'd see that Flammy did do a review for it for us already. I believe it was the Xbox that he had.
No, it's the Switch, I think.
The
Switch,
see,
yeah.
That's what I get. That's what I get. That's what I get. And I'll fix that. Watch, I'll go back in. He did
think I
that
got
one
that
for
one
the
too.
Switch.
I probably didn't do it on the Switch. I'm probably just trying to mess with you. But now you'll never
Who
know.
knows? Who knows? Who knows? But what I'm gonna have to say about this one is I love it. I do. I've had a fondness for this series going back to the Sega CD days when it just absolutely blew my mind back then. And while I can't say that it visually blows my mind the same way, because it's a remake of what, if you look at the original now, is a really ugly game, the best thing I can say to it is kind of what I said to some of my friends about the Link's Awakening remaster, in that it looks now the way that it did in my head as a child. It's that awe-inspiring. And so to see kind of Panzer get remade this way, while it's not going to knock down any doors and blow everybody away, what I'm seeing is what I saw almost as a kid all over again. You know, even as a kid, you could see that it was janky. It was polygons. It was ugly, but it was still beautiful. And I see that again with this. It controls great. You know, there's a lot of people that think that the series has gone dormant. And if you remember at the very beginning of this generation on Xbox One, Crimson Dragon was released. And that's a spiritual successor in every which way to this series and worth checking out. So that's what I got going on. But like I said, definitely keep your eye out and you'll see some other stuff coming on. But let's shoot on down to Mr. Breadroll. Give us an update what you got going on, sir.
I'm still reviewing Toy Cars 2, which I mentioned last week. So that's somewhere between a cross between the old Micro Machines games that you might remember from the Mega Drive. That's at least where I remember them from, that back when they were fun. And Mario Kart. It is a sequel to a game that was ambitious but didn't quite bring the goods. This time round, there's loads of content. There's so many game modes. It's almost overwhelming the amount of game modes they try to put in. They've almost gone for overkill. Yeah, I've been playing it for like a good, 4 or 5 hours now. It seems that every time I start a new tournament, they're introducing new mechanics and new game modes. And as good as that is, it doesn't really give you a chance to kind of settle into anything. The game's not that expensive. I think you can actually pick it up now for about $7.99 on sale. So it's not like, asking you for top dollar. The one thing I do have an issue with is some of the controls are a little bit janky, but it's just because I play a lot of Mario Kart, I think. And when it comes to kart races, that pretty much is the Don. So anything less than Mario Kart, is always a bit of a struggle. The visuals are a little bit wonky as well. The actual gameplay itself is good fun. But the actual, when you're selecting a tournament to go into, the visuals may as well not be there. They're just all blurred and smeared. Imagine looking at a Christmas decoration for a condom. That's pretty much the quality of the graphics on the menu screen, and it pretty much ruins when you're trying to select. I don't even know where the hell I'm going when I select the game mode. I'll just wait till I get there and I'll have a go at it. But for pick up and play fun for a cheap price, it seems to be okay. Full review will be of you shortly.
That I don't know what to tell you there. That sounds impressive. I'm actually I'm very eager to see this for myself. I actually want to go pull this up on YouTube in a little bit.
He's like, where's the segue for that metaphor, though?
Yeah. So,
Heard that, the chat went silent.
So, Lord Shmup, I do believe you've got some exciting news or some thoughts going on with the Darius.
2 games on the go. We'll save that one for last because that one I got a little bit to blab about. But the first one is Out Buddies DX, a new Metroid game. Metroid, that's the genre, not Metroidvania. You heard it first from TBG. It's a Metroid, not Metroidvania. Kill that term. It's so cringe. Anyway, Out Buddies DX. I had to look up the name. Julian Laufer is the single developer from this game. And what's incredible is this Metroid game on Switch was kickstarted, which typically I hate Kickstarter, but so the amount of money that he asked for was like $5,000, which is incredibly low for what you typically see on Kickstarter. So he kickstarted this for like $5,600, which is like applaudable if anything. He was like, you know what, I'm doing this part-time, but I need a little bit of money on the side to help me kick into gear. And then I think he hired a couple other people on to take this project on, but it's overall like a single person developed game, which is super impressive in itself. And it's, I believe it's $18 on the eShop. I just started it. Typically I'm not that good with Metroid games. Metroid Fusion was like a super favorite of mine on Game Boy Advance. And I love that one. So I thought this would be a worthy challenge to take on. I got past the initial tutorial, maybe like the first few areas. And what's cool is on the main screen, you can see a progress bar, which kind of shows like badges as far as like how far you've proceeded in the game. And it's cool. I tried to describe the looks, and I came up with like a 90s, like grungy, almost like Nickelodeon type look where a lot of stuff back then had this kind of gross look to it. And that's how I describe this game, but in a positive light. It's got a lot of these like dark neon colors, if that makes sense. There's a lot of contrast going on. There are upgrades, obviously, and there's a lot of back and forth, and it's cool. Your main character has a buddy that you can control with the right stick and then move objects and identify objects, and it's interesting. I played I think 2 to 3 hours of it so far, so just getting into it. I'm really just scratching the surface at this point. I feel like I'm gonna probably put in like 10 to 20 hours to beat it, but so far it's fun, and I'm very impressed that it's created by one person. So shout out to Out Buddies DX. That code was provided by Head Up Games, so thank you to Head Up Games. And the second game I'm reviewing right now is Darius Cosmic Collection, the arcade collection. This has, I believe, 5 games. 3 are from the same game, and they are different iterations of the game. So the first game will be the original release. The second game has some, I wouldn't say upgrades, but people thought it was too difficult or what have you, and things were changed about halfway through or so. And the same for the third iteration. Different things were added to make the game a little bit easier. And then there are 2 iterations of Darius 2, I believe. And that's like a super widescreen look of this horizontal shmup. Sorry, it's a horizontal shmup. I'm sure everybody knows what Darius is, but for those that don't, it's a horizontal shmup. And the third game in the Darius Cosmic Collection for the arcade edition is Darius Gaiden, which is definitely leading for my favorite. The graphics alone are insane, and they are the reason why people say this game is ahead of its time, because current shmups can't keep up with it in some factors. And it's amazing to see how old this game is and how awesome the visuals are. The music is a bit lackluster. I would call it softcore, but everything other than that is really fun. I'm enjoying it. I've got, I think, 2 to 3 hours as well into that one. And I'm going to do an overall review of the collection, not individually, because like I said, the first game, there's 3 iterations. The second game, there's 2. And then Gaiden just has 1. Because as far as I'm concerned, that game's like darn near perfect. As far as the Darius series goes, there's every time you complete a level, there are a couple options to choose from. It goes in alphabetical order, and like this stacked option, I'm not sure how to explain that exactly, but you can choose your route to go through the game, and it's been really fun. And Darius Gaiden is definitely leading the pack, so I'm loving that shmup, and that's what I'm reviewing right now. I've got another game on the go that I will begin after these 2, but I will likely talk about that next week. Lord Shmup, out.
Out yet. Talk to me for a second. You know, it sounds pretty awesome, and I'm not a big shmup guy, but I'm familiar with Darius as far as being a series that's been around for a while. Where would you kind of place that in the pantheon of horizontal shmups?
Ooh, that's a good question because it's a collection. And it's difficult because typically horizontal shmups aren't necessarily my favorite. I prefer vertical in all aspects. Even with subgenres, I would prefer mostly vertical. So as far as horizontals go, I mean, you have the options there. So you have 3 different games which vary in their look and their feel. And I don't know, because Gaiden is really fun, and with this game, you can just feed quarters and defeat the game regardless of how terrible you are. So you really get to enjoy the visuals. You get to enjoy the boss transitions, the different phases and whatnot. You get to see different power-ups. So it's pretty forgiving because you can just feed quarters. So I'm not sure. I just gave Rolling Gunner another horizontal shmup. I think I gave that a 9 out of 10. Oof. Darius Collection, it's got to be at least an 8 out of 10. It's really fun. It's really cool. I believe the full price is $45 for the arcade collection. So I'm not sure how much the console collection would be, which includes a couple more games. But I would give that a solid 8. I mean, it's old, but it's still awesome. It speaks volumes for the genre. And like I said, it's ahead of its time 100%. So I'd give that a solid 8 out of 10.
Onward to Mr. Flamey, and you know, last we checked in with you, I believe you were aging backwards or regressing time somehow with Xenoblade. What was the deal with that?
So yeah, I guess for myself this week, I have actually got 3 reviews in the bag already lined up. A couple of smaller titles in terms of their content and how long it took me to finish them. The first one that I've got ready for release is called Pixboy, and that's on the Nintendo Switch. It's a retro platformer, and I mentioned that last week, and that's pretty much ready to go. I've also created a review for Golf with Your Friends, which was on the Xbox. That one is published by Team 17, so you kind of know what you're getting. It's very much like an Overcooked, where it's a fun party game. I wouldn't necessarily want to play it on my own, but with friends, as the title says, it's very good. So my review for that is coming up. I've also been working on a visual novel, which again, that one's ready to go. So it should be some fun reading that, as I did when I was playing it, because it's a visual novel. There's not much gameplay. It's you push the button, you read the story. But the interesting thing with this one was that it had multiple choices in it, which affected sort of the end game of the story. So that's ready to go. I'm still playing Xenoblade, and I'm currently 35 hours into it now, going back around the loop. And again, it's a really good game, but it's nothing new. And fans of the series love it, and I've enjoyed my time with it so far. And then I am also working on a couple of new reviews, games that I can't really talk about at the moment, so I won't.
For a
And
minute
that's it.
about this golf with your friends, because that was one that I know we were just kind of joking around and talking about in chat when we were talking about possibly getting the beard room together for a gaming session. Where
Absolutely. I think it would work as well.
Oh, you think golf with friends will work with friends?
Absolutely, yes.
Uh,
It's very much, it looks rough around the edges. The music is atrocious. Just turn that off straight away. But the good thing is that there's party modes in it, so you can have collisions on, you can have power ups, you can mess with your friends as much as you want to try and win each round. And it's very much that childlike fun. The game itself, is it great? No. Get your friends playing in it. It's the best game ever. Pure fun.
that's what I was hoping to hear. That's something that I don't think that there's a lot of, or games where, by itself it's whatever it is, but when you get a whole bunch of people together, you just have a blast and just time flies by. That's
Yeah, and
awesome.
I feel kind of sorry for people playing it on the Nintendo Switch, to be honest. And that's not the game's fault; it's the Switch's fault. There's no real party chat. Yeah, you can work around it, but Xbox, PC, PlayStation, you put the game on, you hook up with your friends, and you can just have a chat. It's like going down the pub, meeting down the park, whatever you want to do. But Switch owners, it's a bit more tricky.
And that's something to definitely be mindful of going forward. Appreciate it, sir. Steph, what is going on, sir?
Well, I've had a busy week with work and the kids. So, in terms of gaming, I've done sweet FA, absolutely nothing. I haven't even been near a computer except now. Shameful, I know. But Sunday is Father's Day. So, I'm going to lock the kids in their bedrooms and it's my day. So, fuck them. I'm going to just play computers all day. So, No Man's Sky has come to Game Pass, and that's it's piqued my interest for a couple of years probably, but I've never actually gone and bought it. Don't need to now because it's come to Game Pass, so sweet. But this game came out like 4 years ago by Hello Games, and it pretty much got destroyed by how I think they made a lot of promises of what was going to be in the game, and it was kind of like 10% of the game that people thought it was going to be. So 4 years on seems like a good time to play it now that it's actually meant to be a pretty decent game. So I'm going to be playing that just for my own pleasure kind of thing. And I'll kind of want something that I can get into. And then anything else that's going to come my way in terms of review codes and stuff. So yeah, that's going to be my Sunday.
I can't say there's anything wrong with that at all. I definitely appreciate the heads up on the No Man's Sky. With all the other news and everything that's going on, I completely forgot that was even out on Game Pass. That's absolute. Xbox continuing to knock it out of the park with titles that show up in Game Pass. So I appreciate that, sir.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Game Pass. I got my laptop like a month ago, and I played Streets of Rage 4 in it, which I was going to buy for the Switch, but then got Game Pass for £1 for the first month. And Streets of Rage 4 is absolutely fantastic. It's just like playing the old games, but the updated art style is just beautiful. The music, it kind of makes you feel like you're a teenage boy playing with a Mega Drive again, sort of thing. So I absolutely loved that game. It was really good.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. Like that, just hearing you say that again just solidifies that Game Pass is fantastic. Just knowing that you're able to rekindle those childhood feelings for what, like you said, £1 or $1 if you're here in America. Okay, just remember that it's hosted from America this time.
It's true.
So, Bread Roll. Why don't you catch everybody up on what's going on in the world of news that might be of some interest?
Okie dokie. So we have 3 items to cover this week. The first of which is Monstrum 2 has been announced. Now, you might remember we released a review for the first Monstrum a couple of weeks ago. Came to Nintendo Switch. It came out on PC originally back in about 2018. Basically, it was a first-person survival horror procedurally generated. So you spawn onto a cruise ship that's been abandoned. You're being stalked by a monster. You have to escape. Had quite a bit of fun with it. The sequel looks to take a leaf out of the popular formula that games like Dead by Daylight, Predator Hunting Grounds, and the Friday the 13th game seem to be having a good time with. So like 4 versus 1, 4 people cooperating together, one person playing as a monster. It's set in the Monstrum universe, which seems to be something they're looking to elaborate on, which is really cool because I quite enjoyed the first game for what it provided. The difference between Monstrum 2 and things like Dead by Daylight is, once again, Monstrum 2, the scenarios and the locations will always be procedurally generated. So you and your buddies will spawn in to a randomly generated room. You have to escape. There's some geezer running around as a big scary monster trying to shank you. They're all drawn by like sort of like aquatic-based monsters. It's again based on like, I think it's a converted oil rig, and there will be some kind of backstory to it, like they're doing some kind of experiments, hence the monsters. Like I say, they're going to try and flesh the universe out a little bit more. But that's coming to Steam in Q4 this year. Hopefully, now that Monstrum is on PS4, Xbox, and Switch, it won't be long before we see it come to the consoles as well, because this formula of gameplay seems to be quite successful. I'm a fan of Dead by Daylight, so I'd be up for trying Monstrum 2. If you pre-order it, the beta is actually starting soon. So if it looks like your cup of tea, head over to Steam and check that one out. The second piece of news, it came out of nowhere and everyone was quite excited, but Star Wars Squadrons was announced with that trailer that unfortunately EA, though that company, you know, they listen to the fans, they kind of give half of something and then they take the other half away. Everyone was excited to see them do a Squadrons game because we've all been waiting for like either a remaster or a remake of Rogue Squadrons. They showed a CGI trailer. There was no gameplay, which is unfortunate, but it kind of gave us a taste of what we're going to be getting. It's set after Return of the Jedi. It's 5v5, which seems a little bit mediocre considering, you know, a lot of games these days are pushing 30, 40, 50, sometimes even 60-player multiplayer events. So we'll have to see how that pans out. It got a mixed response after the launch of the actual trailer, but until we actually see some gameplay and get some solid details, it's hard to really say, should we be excited, should we not? But at the end of the day, it's a Star Wars game, so you know it's got everyone's attention. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they kind of bring to it. And last but not least, for tabletop gamers, we're actually very close now to the Warhammer 40k Indomitus pack. That is the 9th edition of Warhammer 40k. It's set to release around the end of July. Games Workshop have been a little bit cagey on the specifics. All they've said really is that although it's the beginning of the 9th edition, it's not a starter pack. So if you're new to Warhammer 40k, it's not an introduction, it's not a starter set to get you set up. This is designed for hardcore players, existing Warhammer players who want to get into the 9th edition and want to hit the ground running, basically. It's set to be between £120 or £150, somewhere in that region. It's not 100% confirmed yet. We will be bringing you more information as time goes on, but it will be mainly focusing on the new version of the Space Marines, which is the Primaris, so they're more sleek and more detailed, not the squat little constipated ones that we've seen from like the 90s or anything like that. And it'll be the Ultramarines versus the Necrons, which are basically Terminators. So if you're a fan of Warhammer, keep an eye on that. Also, if you're looking to get into Warhammer 40k, although this is not a starter pack, you might want to hang fire on buying one of the existing starter packs, because no doubt the new rule set come along, they will announce a new starter pack, and it might be worth waiting for a couple of reviews on that just to see where it's best to spend your cash, because it's not a cheap hobby. So wait until the end of July, wait for more details, watch a review, and then decide where you want to lay your buck, if you want to go for the 8th edition and work from there, or you just want to wait for a bit more of the 9th edition.
Yeah, good idea.
That is some fantastic stuff right there. I am with you that I have definitely been waiting to see something in the Rogue Squadron, just the Squadrons universe, come to light. And I was excited to see this, and you know, similarly, kind of not necessarily let down, but by the same token, it's kind of a, well, I mean, I guess we kind of should have expected it, right? We got the announcement, but that's all we really kind of got. So, all right. Well, as Steph alluded to earlier, this weekend is Father's Day. And, you know, in honor of all those amazing ugly ties and stupid coffee mugs, we thought we'd spice up our questions a little bit and kind of, instead of have it be questions more along the lines of have it be, what is one of the best games you've ever played that had the absolute most just rubbish, garbage box art you've ever seen? And I am going to actually kick this one straight off to the Flaming. I want you to start this one off, sir.
So I have two. I think just as a general statement, a lot of the NES games had decent games, but their box art was generally terrible. Case in point would be Mega Man on the NES.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the game, but the box art is absolutely terrible. My second choice is actually, I wouldn't say necessarily it was an amazing game. It was a good game, but it's more the fact that I need to open this up to Steph. It's around Brutal Legends, actually. When they took your likeness for the front cover, why did they mess it up so much?
Because you can't recreate beauty, Ben. You should know that.
Oh, clap back.
Okay. Well, that's all I needed to know. But yes,
hold on a second
Brutal
here.
Legends is
Which-
my second choice.
Which Mega Man are you talking about? The first one? Because that's like the most cringe for sure.
I believe
Yeah.
so, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the
It's
first
like
one,
a
he's holding
cartoon.
gun.
Yeah, a cartoon visual of this like almost overweight guy in a leotard.
It's like a
his-
middle-aged guy in cosplay.
Yes. But yeah, you can go through any of the NES catalog, and yes, there are some good ones, but generally they're all trash.
Yeah, the first half of Mega Man were awful, but the second half of the NES were great. First half, he's literally holding a gun for the first one. The second one, he looks like almost like a, I don't know, like a Disney character.
Definitely.
And
To piggyback off of you there, Flammy, I'm going to go ahead and jump in and say yes, most of the Nintendo ones were trash, and that's why my selection for this one was Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2. And for people that were not familiar with that one, it was during peak Fabio time.
Yes.
We're talking the legend of all those trash romance novels in the grocery stores. On the cover, holding a broadsword, wearing what looks like a replica of the WCW world title around his waist with his hair just flowing in the background. And what you got inside was a really fun, almost cute, adorable, big-eyed, cartoony dungeon crawler hack and slash RPG that I played it the other day. Thanks, emulation. And it was still it was a blast to play. The controls kind of suck. And I had forgotten that the controls were that bad, but fantastic title nonetheless. So the same question I have to kick down to the beast in the east or the yeast, whatever you want to call yourself right now, Bread Roll. What's the
Bread
what's
Rolls,
the worst
no.
what's the worst box art you've ever seen?
the cover of the last game going straight to that character, the bread roll.
I don't know, man. I'm quite fussy with box art. I mean, I'll probably just say like something like even the original Resident Evil when I played it, the box art just looks shite. I absolutely thought, yeah, what the hell is this? It just looks like it looks worse than the Chuck Norris movie on the front. With Chris stood there like this massive shotgun trying to look like a tough guy. But then when I played the game, I absolutely loved it. But yeah, you are right, and I agree completely with what you said. Everything on the NES looked absolutely shite. It's amazing anything even sold on that console based on like face value. Same can be said for the Mega Drive as well. Like the artwork was just absolutely terrible. But yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go with I think Resident Evil because I played the director's cut on PlayStation 1 and I just thought the front cover looked absolutely dog shit. Yeah, it ended up being one of my probably my favorite franchise in gaming so far. But for some reason, like the front cover did not inspire me. If I hadn't been lent that game, I probably never would have played it.
I cannot disagree with that one bit. Not one bit. Lord Shmup, what do you got for us?
Well, I don't think anything as bad as the long box PS1 of Resident Evil because I do remember that and that was pretty cringe. Not that bad, but just a little bit out there. We got a shmup all the way from the 16-bit era on Super Nintendo, Phalanx. You would know this is a shmup because the front cover shows an old-ass man playing a banjo. That's it. Just an old guy, leaning back, just posted up, looking pissed, with a banjo. That's it.
He actually looked a bit like you. In that pose.
That's it. That's all I got. I mean, I'm sure there's other terrible ones, even as far as like good games go. But I don't know, like whatever the third or Crash Bandicoot Warped or the one after that, the one on GameCube, I guess that looked kind of terrible. Where he's in that large mech gear. Not sure what that was all about. I didn't really care for that, but probably Phalanx for SNES. Just looked awful, had nothing to do, mostly had nothing to do with what the game had in store for you. So if you're a kid and you're at the store and you're looking up at these covers and you just see a guy that looks like your grandpa playing a weird looking guitar, well, it might be a game where you're an old man playing a guitar, so pass. So sales likely followed that, and it probably tanked, and not many people probably bought it. So Phalanx SNES.
I appreciate that. Definitely didn't know what you were in for looking at an old ass grandpa, like you said. Steph, what do you got for us, sir? I'm certain you know something that's just atrocious, but was actually a pretty good game.
Well, I'm trying to think of something that I actually owned that was really bad, and I can't really think of anything that bad. But I probably would club in all the Master System titles because they were just so boring. So I had Alex the Kid in Miracle World, which has been remade, by the way, which is pretty awesome news because I love that game. So I had that on the Master System when I was a kid. Loved that game. It was hard platformer. I love platformers. But the box art is just a bloody white grid with a cartoon drawing. And that's pretty much all the Master System games. They were just shit. And like, so like a bit like the NES ones, you know, the early ones are a bit shit as well. But like on the Amstrad and the Spectrum, the box art was so much better. But then on the NES and the Master System, I don't know. The Master System, they were just all generic, kind of white grid with a cartoon over the front. Like I put that karate one in the group chat the other day. It's literally just a fucking foot. A foot with like a fucking cartoon kapow thing around it. And it's just like, what? You know, someone got paid to make that. You know what I mean?
Gets
My
the message
favorite one of
across.
those.
Wicked. Although it does what it says on the tin, I guess.
No, my favorite one of those was definitely the pro wrestling, where the guy's got a headlock on, but the first guy doesn't even have a head, so it's as if he's got his own head in the headlock. Like, I don't even know what kind of sense
Is
it's
that what
supposed
that
to make.
was? I didn't even realise that was a man and a man with no head. I thought it was just a sausage.
Yeah, there you
Sausage.
go. There
It's
you
all
go.
baloney.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the Beard Room. We hope you enjoyed your stay with us. Do be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. Definitely check the description. Find all the ways you can keep up with us over at twobeardgaming.com, where we certainly have things coming every single day of the week. So until next week, I am TF Banana. We will see you later. Peace.
See ya.